Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this Friday edition of Sports Shorts Daily, presented by LaBear's Casino. He's Tommy Krysan. I'm Ronnie Rance. TK joining us from Tremonti's Meat and Seafood on this Friday, getting ready for the weekend over there. I am in the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame studios, where, speaking of the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, this coming Tuesday, the 15th at 7 p.m., a 2-hour special on LPB, Louisiana Public Broadcasting. You don't want to miss it. Tuesday night, the 15th, 7 p.m. till 9 p.m. Special on the 2023 Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame induction up in Natchitoches. Behind the scenes look at the events. You can see some of the Hall of Fame induction speeches and whatnot. Tune in this coming Tuesday. And we're presented by LaBear's Casino, where Tommy and I will be tomorrow from 10 to noon for Sports Shorts Radio. We'll be over there in the Barstool Sportsbook. How long will it be, the Barstool Sportsbook? Will they change the name again? I don't know.
The Portnoy Sportsbook.
It's wild what's been happening. But anyway, for now, Barstool Sportsbook over at LaBear's Casino. And over at LaBear's, Edge Lounge is open Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. It is the place to be on the casino floor. Live music, lots of fun stuff. Beautiful bar. And that is Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Usually the music starts around 9 o'clock. All right, today, obviously, LSU and Saints continuing on with their preseason practices and whatnot. We told you earlier in the week there was the big story about the fight that came out of LSU.
Honey, I got further information on that. After that settled, there was a huge fight in the locker room shortly after that. Details still to come.
In 1991, we won our first national championship with LSU baseball. I do remember I was in the shower one time, fully lathered up, shampoo in the hair when I had it back then. And I hear a ruckus behind me, and I turn around, and Gary Email, our All-American catcher, and Mark LaRosa, our senior, one of our best relief pitchers, from Connecticut, these two get into a scuffle. I mean, we're all butt naked in the shower. These two are going at it like grizzly bears. And finally it ended when Gary Email put a fist right on the forehead of Mark LaRosa, and it stunned him, and he went down. And then that was it. We all, But, I mean, look, the Oakland A's are well documented back in the 70s, how they fought all the time, didn't get along, and won, 3 World Series in a row or something like that. So, just because guys are fighting or testosterone's flowing or you're not getting along too well doesn't always mean that it's a problem on your team. So don't read too much into it.
I would agree. I mean, I don't have a problem with a fight or two. I mean, it's 100 degrees and they're practicing football, and I know they're into it sometimes. I mean, it's 100 degrees and I want to fight somebody, and I'm not practicing football. So it's tough. And look, I don't mind a little piss and vinegar, and I mean, again, you don't want to fight every day, and it's spilled in the locker room. Okay, I'm sure it's not going to happen again. I'm pretty sure Brian Kelly put his foot down and all that.
All right, so the conference realignment continues to be one of the big stories nationally. We know that the SEC has come out this week and said we're holding pat right now. 16 teams, not looking to do anything in the moment. But there's a couple of big schools that are still out there that need a home out of the Pac-12 now that thing has gone away. And obviously Cal and Stanford are two teams that are being bannered about. What do we do with Cal and Stanford? ACC is trying to decide. They're talking with them to decide, is this a fit for Cal or Stanford or both, one or both, to join the ACC? That's still, if they were to go to the ACC, which is bizarre. We're talking about San Francisco all the way to Tallahassee, Florida.
Or Miami.
I mean, yeah, or Miami, right. But that would still leave Oregon State and Washington State still out in the cold with no place to go at the moment. Looking at this scenario, Tommy, I know in the Big Ten they've got Washington, that's now over in Oregon, right? That are now UCLA, USC, that are all in the Big Ten, and that means they've got to go play, Rutgers, Maryland, But if you're the ACC and you've already had yeah, I'm curious what their thought is, because you have a school in Florida State that's already come out outspoken and said, I don't know if the ACC is our future. Not happy with the ACC. That's already a big red flag, in a situation where most teams just jump and leave. You don't hear the complaint before they leave. So is the ACC so desperate that they're worried about numbers? Because I wonder, how can this financially make sense to a Stanford or a Cal? Stanford, who's more has the ability to overcome the financial burden. Cal is one of the most debt-ridden colleges in America. How does it make sense for them? Not necessarily just in football, because obviously football is the big money. But how does it make sense in all the other sports to jump on a plane, travel all the way across America? And obviously the expense, the missing of school, like it just doesn't seem like this would be a fit for these colleges, because they're still technically colleges.
I agree. It doesn't seem like there'd be a fit. And, I've read some stuff and heard some stuff that with all of this stuff happening, and there'll be more stuff that's going to happen soon, that sooner or later, you're going to have a football-only Southeastern Conference, a football-only Big Ten, and then the other conferences will realign again with more geographically and regionally to take care of all the other sports. Now, men's basketball is a big thing. March Madness, that's a big moneymaker for lots of schools. So, it's all about the money. And sometimes some of these decisions are being made because somebody else made it. If Ronnie Ranch goes and have lunch at Tremonti's today, does that mean everybody else has to have lunch at Tremonti's? Maybe not. But, that's what's happening here. They're afraid. It's kind of like the NFL draft. Sometimes you're afraid not to pick a guy. Well, they're afraid not to make a move. But the overall expense, the student-athlete story, the academic stuff, missing of school, which, football players miss the least amount of school of any sport. Okay, all the other sports miss way more classes or school days than the football, but then you got everything online. A lot of stuff's online now. So if the Oregon volleyball team's at Maryland, maybe the kids could do a class online that, after they land. I don't know. But it's bizarre. And, you got to embrace it. I still think when games kick off, you're going to follow your team. You're going to root for your team. You're going to go to somebody's house for the party. You're going to tailgate if you want to go to the stadium. But the other stuff is a lot of gas on the fire here in August.
I'll tell you, Tommy, I really don't think that I really don't think it's a smart move. But I do agree with you. I do think the day is going to come, not that too far in the future, where some of these leagues are, where you do the football only thing. Because that's where the biggest of the TV money comes from anyway. That's what most of this is all about anyway. So let's just go ahead and do that right now. Let's do the football. The teams are all in the different pods, and then absolutely go with some sort of regional program for the non-sports, because between NIL, which I believe NIL, which is great for the student athletes, NIL is going to take money out of the hands of the schools. It's going to put money straight into the hands of the athletes more than it's going to put it into the schools. Another project for you to do, Tommy, on Netflix is to watch the Johnny Manziel documentary. It's an hour and 14 minutes of your life. You need to watch it. It's amazing. And it just came out a few days ago. And on there, we see in 2020, it's amazing how quickly our mind turns. It's been 10 years, basically, since Johnny Manziel left Texas A&M. When Johnny Manziel was at Texas A&M, he could not make money, right? They would sell number 2 jerseys and sell out. They could not make them fast enough at Adidas or whoever was. I think it was Adidas was the sponsor back then for the school. They couldn't make them fast enough. Johnny Manziel literally talked about how for hours, there were a few different times for hours, he went and signed autographs for the university so that they could take these footballs or pictures or whatever, and then turn around and go to their boosters. And, for a donation, you get a Johnny Manziel signed helmet or whatever, right? Johnny Manziel got in trouble with the NCAA because he was going and meeting autograph guys and, signing autographs, and they were giving him money. Well, he ended up missing a half of a game because they couldn't quite prove, they didn't have video of him literally accepting money, and he wasn't stupid enough to take a check. So he missed a half a game. But now we look at that and think, yeah, of course you should pay the guys. Yeah, put their name on the back. They get a piece of the proceeds. Yeah, take them to Trey Ledbetter and the gang over there to go sign them, 100 autographs, and yeah, they're going to get $30 an autograph or whatever, right? Like now that's normal, and we almost are offended if someone would not pay him. 10 years ago, Johnny Manziel was out there being exploited to the point where, and he wasn't the only one, but I just watched this documentary most recently, to where Texas A&M literally built a new stadium because of the success that he had, and raised, $250 million more in 1 year than they'd ever raised in 1 year. Like, it's just crazy because of his success and Heisman Trophy and all that stuff. So I am a fan of the NIL, but there's a ramification. I am not a fan of the transfer portal. I think that is worse than the NIL. And the NIL now is in the court's hands, and there's nothing that can be done about it. It is what it is there. But the transfer portal is something that can be changed immediately. And then it's also going to take money out of the hands of the colleges, Tommy. And what I mean by that is they've got less money to worry about swimming and to worry about softball and to worry about, track and all these other things. So they've got to be more cost conscious, or they're going to go into a big pit.
I think you're making one of the best points we've ever made on Sports Shorts Daily. And we'll just use Baton Rouge without naming names. There are many businesses in Baton Rouge, okay, who are giving money to LSU athletes and outside of Baton Rouge. But my point is, to magnify what you said, that money is not going to the Tiger Athletic Foundation. It's not going to the athletic department. Back in the old days when Coach Bergman would get somebody to buy all the paint to paint the building. That money is now going straight to the athlete. And there's NIL deals that are small in stature compared to some other NIL deals. So when does that unintended consequence that you just pointed out affect Stanford, Oregon, Washington, and we can make a long list, and LSU for that matter? I mean, it's possible it could 3-4 years from now, LSU saying, well, you know what, we're not going to play a full volleyball schedule because we don't have enough money to send the team even over to Columbia, South Carolina, or to Gainesville, Florida. Or we're going to, we've had to have a weekend tournament, everybody go to one spot, play a bunch of matches. I don't know. That's that cliche, unintended consequences sometimes rings loud. And with what you just pointed out with the NIL money, that may ring real loud real soon. I agree with you. The transfer portal needs to be fixed, modified, strict rules put in. Make some exceptions if something crazy happens, and adjust to that on a case-by-case basis. And look, because again, I'm always going to be all for the student athlete. You and I were both NCAA student athletes. Did we get a couple things back in the day? Yeah, nothing like what's going on now. So I'm all for the athlete. I'm not blaming them at all, but the unintended consequences affect the athletic department and the fundraising arms of these major universities. They just had a ruling by the government. The Texas A&M Collective was a nonprofit thing. They're running all this money through. They had to disband that like this week. The ruling came out last month. We learned about it this week because of the amount of money that was going through it. Now they're going to form another collective to do what they were doing. So, that's also going to happen nationwide. It can happen, at Nicholas or Southeastern on a smaller scale, but, it's all about the money. You make a great point.
All right, so we move on. A couple other big topics to get to in the world of sports. We know the Saints will get their first look at Derek Carr. The line on that one, of course, is the Saints are a 3-point favorite against the Chiefs at home. We know Carr will play. We know Mahomes won't. You mentioned, but when we were before air, who bets on preseason football? A lot of degenerates do. A lot of degenerate gamblers are betting on preseason football. Noon on Sunday.
There was a report that the Saints are expecting Mahomes to play. So, probably fine. And I've been searching because my grandson's a Patrick Mahomes fan, and my daughter has tickets to take him Sunday. He tells her last night, Hey, Pop said Mahomes ain't playing. I don't want to go. I mean, he's 9 years old. He wants to go if Mahomes, and it might only be a series. But anyway, Ronnie, funny thing, I looked at all the NFL lines this morning. Every line on the preseason game between 3 and 5.5 points. Okay, mostly the home team. Every over and under between 34 and 38. So I mean, again, if you have to make a football bet, do $10, or $20. Don't get crazy because you got no earthly. You're flipping a coin. You're playing blackjack in the NFL. You're hoping you beat the dealer, and you might not. But but I wouldn't bet on preseason. If I bet somebody a beer just for kicks and giggles, that's all right, Ryan. I'll bet you a burger the Saints win. But I mean, to anybody to bet, and we like to talk betting here. We got the Barstool Sportsbook. We'll be tomorrow for radio. I mean, with preseason football, you really got to. I mean, there's other stuff you can bet on, futures bets, or MLB, or whatever you want to bet on.
Well, one guy who definitely will be betting, by the way, speaking of LSU, LSU 2.5-point favorite over Florida State. We mentioned that the other day. 56.5 is the over/under total in that game. But one guy who probably will be betting, or would be, or whatever, I don't know what his status is, if he's going to rehab or whatever, is Phil Mickelson, right? Came out this week that Phil Mickelson, according to his old business partner, who does have an axe to grind, mind you, in a book that he wrote, estimates that Phil Mickelson lost over $100 million gambling in his career. Do you believe it?
Probably somewhere, I don't know. It may not be the exact number, but he also estimated that he bet $1 billion. Well, if you lost $100 million, that's only 10% of $1 billion. Okay. I mean, it's kind of like when they put Edward Edwards on trial for losing money in Las Vegas. They forgot to point out, and his attorneys did, how many times he won money. So, I mean, so I don't know. I mean, Mickelson has admitted to gambling. He's admitted to having a gambling problem. At one point, Ronnie, he was having his mother place bets for him, giving her money. And then, of course, the funny story, in 2012, he called the guy who wrote the book and said, put $400 grand on the USA in the Ryder Cup. He was playing in that Ryder Cup. And they ended up, the guy said, no, you're the Arnold Palmer of golf. You can't do this. You're gonna ruin your reputation. The guy refused to do it. That was not placed by that guy. I don't know if somebody, well, yesterday, Rory McIlroy was asked about that. McIlroy said, well, one thing we know is he's not going to bet on a Ryder Cup this year because he's not going to be playing in it. So Rory took a little swipe at him yesterday.
I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, we know how, like, Jordan is legendary for his gambling antics. People that know him know that guy bets ridiculous amounts of money and on the golf course and other things. Charles Barkley is a legendary gambler. Phil kind of surprises everybody because he had this reputation that being a little snarky on the golf course, that maybe didn't get along with everybody for a few years, but nobody really knew that this was the case, that it was that serious, that he was that much of a degenerate gambler. And I don't care how much money you have, Tommy. 100 million is 100 million. That is a ton of money. And you see, maybe that's what led to a lot of these decisions for these commercials that he's made, and obviously the Live Tour thing. And you wonder if Phil Mickelson hadn't lost $100 million, would he ever have gone to the Live thing? And as it turned out, he was right to do it.
Well, Ronnie, the other thing, your pal John Daly also had a big gambling problem. And I want to say Callaway Golf bailed him out one time, paid like off all of his debts. And of course, he wore Callaway gear for a long time. Might still be wearing it. I don't know. But, and then that takes us down to 3 Iowa State football players are now suspended because they bet on Iowa State football, among other things, other bets. So, wow. I mean, I can go right now and bet on the Saints game on my phone while you're talking. That's how easy it is to do. And we'll just see what happens.
One of the cool stories, and I need you to elaborate on this. So we just had a no-hitter thrown in the major leagues a couple nights ago. But that's not the story, that there was a no-hitter in the major league. The story within the story is absolutely incredible. Tell us about it, TK.
Yeah, well, there's four guys. I'm pulling up the name here. There's four guys who all went to Fullerton Union High School in Fullerton, California. The only four guys to ever get to the major leagues who played baseball at that high school. Now, with Lorenzen throwing a no-hitter the other night, all four of them have thrown a no-hitter in the major leagues. It's Steve Busby, Walter Johnson, Mike Warren, and Mike Lorenzen, who threw one the other night. So that's amazing. You know, if you get two guys from one high school to play in the major leagues, that's amazing. Just to play for one day or play for 1 month, it's September call-up. But to have four guys from this school make it to the major leagues and all toss a no-hitter, that's one of them amazing stats. I don't think you'll ever find five guys to do it. You know, that's going to be a record forever.
I'll tell you what, if I live anywhere near those high schools,
You're sending your kid there?
I mean, you know, there's something in the water, Coach. I mean, that's like lightning striking twice, you know what I mean? Type of thing. 3 times, whatever. I mean,
4 times in the same hour.
Wow.
I mean, you might have a better chance of winning a Powerball than having 4 guys from the same high school baseball. Now they didn't play all at the same time at that high school.
But that's incredible, Tommy, is we're talking about they've only had 4 guys go to the major leagues from that high school that made it to the major leagues from that high school. And all 4 were pitchers and all 4 threw no hitters. Like, what? I mean, it's just
you see your message on the screen. Can you read it?
No.
Your mom says Rougarou needs their pitching coach.
Yeah, that's very smart, Mom. There you go. Thank you. What's the name of that high school, Tommy? Let me write this down.
Fullerton Union High School. Google them.
Fullerton Union
High School, Fullerton, California.
Yeah. By the way, Rougarou did throw a no-hitter during the season.
Combined, 4 guy combined no-hitter. I called the game.
Threw a no-hitter. Combined.
You know, speaking of that, I'll throw this in. You know, I've called every Rougarou home game for the last 2 years. And this year I got to see a combined no-hitter, 4 different guys. And I also got to see the Iron Man, David Smith, play 9 positions and 9 innings. Now, it played hell with keeping point streak and the scorebook straight, but I got it done. So, I saw 2 amazing things that you don't see every day with the Baton Rouge Rougarou this past summer. So get your tickets now for next year.
And we're excited because we hired a coach last year, a championship-winning coach, a guy who's been very good in the TCL for years. We brought him over, and we also re-signed the TCL Player of the Year, Josh Shelley. So we're off to a good start, good foundation in August. We don't play again until the end of next May, but we'll tell you plenty more about the Rougarou as the year goes on. And also a reminder, mark your calendar, this coming Tuesday, LPB, Louisiana Public Broadcasting, 7 p.m. You don't want to miss it. A great 2-hour special on the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame and this year's 2023 class, which includes Eli Manning and Paul Maneri and Emma Woodruff and others. Check that out. That's coming up. TK, tell us about Tremonti's on the way out.
Well, fried catfish with crawfish etouffee is the lunch special today. Got the Chandler's Reserve meats, all the whiskey and wine that you need for your weekend. And they're preparing the tailgate and party platters for football season, which is here or right around the corner with the real games. So Tremonti's can do it all for you. Tailgate and party packages, Tremontis.com. Jefferson Highway, Baton Rouge, right down the block from Parkview Baptist Church and School. Stop by, get some lunch, get some wine or whiskey for the weekend. They got chicken, seafood, meat, Chandler's Reserve meat, Wagyu steaks. Got a little bit of everything at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood.
Please like and share this video. Sports Shorts Daily will be back on Monday. We'll be Sports Shorts Radio live tomorrow, 10 to noon at Barstool Sportsbook inside LaBerge Casino. For Tommy Chrysan, I am Ronnie Rance. Have a great weekend, everybody.